All right, everybody. Good evening. Happy New Year to all of you. I hope that you guys had a wonderful holiday season with your friends, family, loved ones, and hopefully you're feeling at least a little bit relaxed and recharged and ready to go for 2025. I sent a small group that I'm working with a message today just to remind them that it is 2025. Like it started already. You know, I don't know if some people are still kind of sort of in vacation mode or in a little bit of a lull or whatever it might be, but in my mind, today was game on. You know, maybe some of you were doing a little bit of business planning. I'm guessing you probably weren't doing a lot of meetings yesterday, I'm assuming on January the 1st, but maybe you were doing some organizing and some business planning. But today was back to game time. And I don't know about all of you, for me, I felt like a little bit of a fish out of water, just being out of routine, but it felt really good to get back, making progress, doing some meetings, booking some more meetings, and planning to come into 2025 and have the best year of my life in all areas, not just business, but in all areas. Really quiet.
I'm looking at it right now.
Oh, maybe it was somebody else. Okay, perfect. And so tonight, I'm really excited about the speaking lineup that we have coming up tonight. We've got a whole bunch of SMDs, we have EMDs, we have 100K earners, $250,000 earners, $500,000 earners, and a whole bunch of different topics that are going to apply to you and that are going to apply to a bunch of your teammates. So I'm really excited about that. But before I start bringing up our speakers, I just want to bring up one little idea with you. This might not resonate with you, but it's something that has worked really, really, really well for me over the years, is I think about what are the things in my life that I need to take the most seriously this year, so that 12 months from now, then my life is kind of in the position that I want it to be in. Now, of course, I have big time business goals. For me, a lot of that stuff, this might sound kind of funny, but I don't really even need to focus on it that much because this is just what I do every day. And every morning I wake up and I have a list of 50 things to do and I just start tackling that list and doing my meetings. So I don't really have to focus much on my business because this is just what I do every single day. But in some other areas of my life, I need to be a lot more focused. And I've always liked the idea of square sheets. So how many of you have a 100 square sheet that you're tracking to work towards getting to SMD? All of you should, right? So we know that historically, typically you and your teammates need to attract about 100 people to come to work with you as part of your team. And out of those 100 people that you attract, somewhere between 10 and 20 of them are going to get licensed. And a bunch of them are going to get trained and start helping clients and start building their own business. And it's all going to roughly add up to an SMD promotion. And I just found 20 years ago, well, more than that, because I've now been doing this for 22 years, but 21 years ago, I found that having something like that was visual to focus on was something that was super, super helpful for me. And so I've got 2 of those square sheets coming into this year. You guys can kind of chuckle a little bit. So my first goal is to exercise 200 times in 2025. So I went to the gym this morning, January 2nd, there's one. I've got 199 to go. Now, I wish it was just as easy that all I had to do was work out once in a while and I'd have the fitness level that I wanted. But apparently it really matters. The food that I put into my body apparently really matters as well. I'd really like to figure out a way around that if I could. So especially coming out of the holidays where I'm sure a lot of you experience the same thing where there's just delicious junk food all over the place. And so I have another square sheet going into January that I'm going to have 25 days of clean eating in January. I'm not a maniac that I'm never going to eat junk food or I'm never going to drink whatever, but if I have 25 days in the month of January, along with my, roughly 20 to 25 workouts, then I know I'm going to be moving towards the fitness goals that I want to have. But could you also do something like this for your business goals? Could you make a commitment to make 100 phone calls in the month of January? Could you make a commitment to get 20 new names and phone numbers in the month of January and track it somehow?
right? You could do all of those. You could relate so many different goals that you have in different areas of your life, and you could track it, and you could have a visual. And I think that people way smarter than me refer to it as something to do with a dopamine hit, right? When you're tracking something and you check it off and you get that feeling like you're moving towards accomplishing something. And I think that's part of why it works for me. Are we good, Mike? Should I delay things here or no, we're good? All right, perfect. Let's move on to our lineup of speakers. Some of them are going to be in the office. Some of them are going to be out and about in Zoom land, wherever they happen to be. Our first speaker is Diane Dupuis, a 100K earner. Somehow we convinced her to leave Regina to move to Edmonton. And you've absolutely been a wonderful addition to the office to have you around. Everybody, please help me welcome Diane Dupuis.
Hello, you can hear me okay? Oh, whoa, what's happening? Slow down. Okay. As of today, 137
so
and
quiet.
689,000
I can't even see her.
cash flow.
Oh, I get it now. Awesome. 137,000. I don't want to sell you short.
9. All right. Yeah. Okay. Family of the week this week. This was a really fun client. I learned so much because I actually met him in a person.
That's about.
Before. I met him in a personal development course before as I was getting licensed. And so shared some like limiting beliefs and things like that within the group. So I was a little bit intimidated reaching out to him, but I did. And he came out to a live open house we had in Regina right when I first got licensed, and I forgot how to talk during that open house. I actually got up there and like my brain fell out of my head and I just like couldn't speak. And I was standing in front of like 50 people that we had invited out, and I had no words to say. And then eventually I was just like, say something, Diane, and I spit it out. And my part, the first half of the BPM was like probably 5 minutes. And then thankfully Adam saved it at the end. So anyways, I kept following up with him, and we finally sat down, we did an info gather, and he had some investments that could be definitely doing better, some old pensions actually. And then I just kept following up and following up and following up. And I thought he was like kind of just like blowing me off the whole time. Like, yeah, I'll get you the investments. It's so much work. Like the statements, it's just so much work and I don't have time. And but I was like, well, I'm just going to keep reaching out. So I just kept reaching out over and over and over, just kind of to entertain myself. And one day he finally said, okay, let's do some comparisons. So we did some comparisons. They were awesome, of course. And then he said to me, okay, and I thought I was closing this thing because I close everything, right? And he says, okay, I'm just going to go talk to my advisor at the credit union now. And I was like, what? I didn't see that coming. And he said, well, my friend is an advisor at the credit union. And so he's going to do a comparison. I told him I'd go like check him out, and just integrity, I must do that. But then he went on to tell me, he said, my friend, though, he's the senior and he can't help me. So he gives me the junior advisor. So I'm going to go meet with him. And I'm like, wait a second. You don't know the junior advisor and you have to deal. Like, I'm like, how do you feel that way? Because he said, I don't have enough money to deal with my friend. I deal with a junior. I'm like, really? How does that make you feel? I'm like, you're sitting with a senior advisor right now, and I don't care how much money you have. I want to help you no matter what. And he said, it's a thing of integrity. I got to go talk to him. And I'm like, okay. Do what you want to do. But I was pretty confident because I knew that we were going to be what he was going to get at the credit union. Anyways, sure enough, we did. He didn't even say anything. We just booked back, took a bunch more follow-up, finally booked back, and he didn't bring up the conversation at the credit union at all. So I never did see what happened there. But my slides don't work.
I'll go click it and see if that helps.
Okay, so he had 3 pensions from 3 previous employers, about 250,000. They're averaging 5%. So he had 23 years left until he was going to retire. So he was on track to have about $768,000. And then after we moved them with like almost 3 years of follow-up and just going back and forth. And even when it came to signing it, it took probably 3 weeks and 2 more meetings. And so I learned a lot about detail, patience. It was a really good a really good one there. And we finally got all that moved. Oh, and then the Canada Post strike happened. And so I actually went to the pension offices myself and grabbed the check and couriered it. So it was a long process, but so worth it. We moved it over to a balanced portfolio, averaging about 8 to 9%. Of course, it's doing better than that right now, but just on the low end, he's on track to have 1.4 million, and his fin number is 1.3, and he still has a pension at his job he's at right now. So he is well on track to retire. And so that feels really good to be able to help a friend out. And then commissions, I mean, it was just over 11,000 points. If you were a training associate, almost $3,000 paycheck. As an associate, $4,000. An MD, $5,800, and I got paid about $7,500 just right at Christmas time. So that was kind of nice. Yeah, that is all. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Okay.
Great job. Awesome job, Diane. Great example. We are going to have one more client example a little bit later on, but you all know me. I really like to sprinkle in those examples, just reminding us the goodness of what we do. And Diane, I appreciate that you added in a little bit of the story there as to how much. So have you been following up with that guy for like 2 years? So because that 2.5 years. So she followed up with him for 2.5 years. And now ultimately, who's that making a difference for? It made a huge difference for the client that he was able to get his money working harder for him. And then if Diane gets paid $7,000 or $8,000, then I'm pretty sure she's also totally okay with the effort put in to be following up with that. So
He moved it when I was still an associate when I first called him.
so you got paid more later on. That's right. That's right. Awesome example. Next up, we have one associate that we've invited to be on the call today. And out of all of the associates in the office, as far as I can tell, the most momentum, doing things the fastest, not licensed all that long, just about to get to MD and certainly SMD in 2025, and has a background in power sports, which I know nothing about, but I'm pretty sure that's those things like skidoos and quads and those types of things. I'm not good with that kind of stuff. So we see people here having success from all different types of backgrounds. So please help me welcome Chris Bellier.
All right, how's it going, Zoom? Can you guys hear me okay? This is my first time talking to this many people. So I'm a little nervous, but for those of you that are new in the room that have not met me before, my name's Chris. Pleased to make your acquaintance. And for all of you on Zoom, same thing. Had the pleasure of meeting some of you guys out and about. Like Greg mentioned, I come from the power sports industry. So for those of you that don't know what this is, side-by-sides, ATVs, boats. I did that for a long time, about 15 years. Started in the very bottom of the barrel, sweeping floors, emptying trash cans, and eventually I was running a dealership out in Edson, Alberta. Loved my job. And then when the time came where I realized I was kind of capped out at my income, I could only buy the company or start my own. And of course, the ownership group, who was a very good friend of mine, they weren't going to let me buy in. So it was at that time, I was also going through a bit of a divorce, and I was actually referred to this company by a very good friend of mine that actually made me an offer to buy into her business here in Leduc. She referred me to Jen Leclerc, which is super awesome. So 2 years ago, I didn't even know it was a recruiting appointment, but who knew? That's how we do stuff around here, right? Which is so awesome. So at the time, it wasn't really right for me, but I saw a lot of need on the client side, and it really just kind of kickstart myself and my family with goals to buy into a business. And then, of course, just make something of myself. So I started moving, I moved to the city, started working for this friend, and literally within 4 months, guys, she sold her business to a private equity group, and I lost the ability to buy it. So bit of a kick to the butt, but her and I are still very good friends to this day. We actually did some stuff over the holidays, which is super good. So it was really nice. And so back in, it would have been back in April of this year. Things weren't going well, and I picked up the phone and I called Jen and I said, "Okay, let's do this." And for anybody that knows me, I'm an all-in kind of guy. There's no taking it easy. There's just all the way forward. So we went in, we had off to a very fast start, which was super awesome. And just things happened very, very, very quickly. So that kind of brings me into my point here tonight. Greg wanted me to talk about tips to a fast start. I would say I kind of wrote them down here. The first thing that I would tell anybody looking at doing this, 100% you got to build a list. Work with your S&D right away and get on that straight away. 25 names if possible, just keep going. Obviously for some people, it's a little bit harder than others. I was fortunate with my industry. I had a lot of people, but at the end of the day, just put people down on your list, guys, and just call them. Second thing, and this was probably the biggest for me, and write this down, is lean on your leadership. You know, we talk about it a lot, and I think it's one thing that could be just driving a lot more. When there were times that I thought I was bugging Jen too much, she was like, no, just keep giving it to me. Just keep going, right? And there were times we were having calls, you know, we were working here late nights. And some of the agents know, like, we put in some serious time, and that really kind of got us to where we are. And we're just going to keep going, right? So lean on your leadership. They're there. Ben and Jen have been absolutely incredible for myself and for my business. And then, of course, other agents in the office too. Everybody is our leader, guys, so lean on them. There's a few of you here in the office that have really helped me, so I really appreciate that. The other thing I would say is get licensed fast, right? Like, if you can balance your time and get your licensing done, lean on Eric Harding, right? Utilize the tools that Greg has given us. That's so good, guys. Get on that. I was working an 8-hour day, 5 days a week, and I was going home and I was plugging in for a couple hours every night, and we got it done. And I have agents on our team that were working more hours in the oil patch and literally doing this stuff at 2 o'clock in the morning while they were under a light tower to get licensed. And some guys even on our team got their license done with Alberta Insurance Council in less than 3.5 weeks.
Yeah.
So it is possible. Lean on your leadership and anything can happen. This is probably the biggest tip that I could give anybody, is get obsessed. You guys got to get obsessed with what you want. I've wanted so many big things my whole life. I knew I was destined for great things, but I never really knew what it was. But you got to really want it, and you got to want it so bad that you're going to put everything on your line, everything on the line. I'm not telling anybody to go full-time, because we went full-time very quickly because I ended up losing my job. But at the end of the day, get obsessed with what you want. If you can utilize that, I tell you, you can wake up every morning and it doesn't matter what obstacle comes your way. You're just going to keep going. The obstacles that have come these last couple months, you know, a couple of years ago, I would have looked at that and been like, oh, darn, right? And we just keep going forward. The personal development, all that stuff is like, oh, it'll happen when it happens, but we're not going to take our foot off the gas. And finally, the last thing, this is another really big tip. And, you know, I don't think we hear this one a lot, but it's really special to me, is just give yourself some grace, right? We put a lot of pressure on ourselves. My whole career, I've literally had such high expectations of myself. I was the oldest of all the kids in the family. I was pressured to go to school. I was pressured to have the good job, all this stuff. And I always kind of beat myself down in the gutter. Guys, just give yourself some grace. Everything will happen when it does. I trust you. Like, literally, if your SMD jumps, you tell them how high, just literally just go for it, and you can conquer anything you've ever wanted before. That's my message.
Awesome. Awesome message, man. Well done. What a great, great, great message. And I don't have time between all of the speakers to add much for comments. But something that really spoke to me is he talked about getting obsessed with what he wants, right? There's good things in our lives that we can become obsessed with, and there's bad things in our lives that we could become obsessed with. But becoming the best version of ourselves, to be able to build a business that helps people and take better care of our family, that is a good thing to go after and to get obsessed with. Well done. Awesome job. All righty, next up, Miss Jennifer LeClaire, part of an absolute dynamic duo, Jen and Ben. Their biggest year in business was this past year, well in excess of $500,000 a year of income, which clearly wasn't possible if Jen was a nurse and Ben was a mortgage broker or a paramedic. That would not be happening. Please help me welcome Jen LeClaire.
Thank you. Great job, everybody being here. I'm excited to kind of go at the front of this so that I can really just soak in all of the value that's coming after this. So excited to be here with you guys. Great message, Chris. All right, you guys, I want you to imagine for a minute that it's a year from now, or 6 months from now, 90 days from now, or just 1 month from now. And that the person that you're sitting next to, you get to look at and you get to say, I freaking did it. I nailed it. Whatever the goal is that you want to accomplish, you get to look at them and you're like, it's done. How great does that feel? Okay, will it happen by itself? Yes or no? No, what has to happen is we have to plan for it to happen. We have to schedule it. And when you take a look at what Greg mentioned, he's got a year-long goal that he shared, and he also has a 1-month goal. Can you guys take some tips from that and just say it's important to have long vision on what we want to accomplish, as well as get excited about something that we can get done really quickly. So we're all accomplishing something. So some of those goals people could be working towards would be getting licensed, becoming independent, becoming a trainer, earning your first paycheck, being able to earn your next promotion. Whatever the milestone in business that you want to accomplish, you got to have an action plan and you got to work that action plan. Yes. So the best way to be able to do it is have your schedule and let this be your year. 2025 can be your year that you're able to accomplish all of the goals that you have. I was talking earlier to Diane and I said, you know what's amazing? And then Ben came in the room as well. You know what's amazing is that Adam and Savannah are proving what is possible. Do you remember what I said? You can have it all in business. They're having record month after record month, exciting year, right? They've got incredible time that they're investing with their family and they're in tip-top shape. So they're proving everybody right that says, you know what, you can have it all in WFG. You can have an amazing family life. You can be super fit. You can be able to enjoy the successes of your business because you've invested quality time in each of these important areas. So if they can do it, we can do it. So like Steve Holbrook says, you guys remember Steve Holbrook, right? Keynote speaker at multiple Dynasty events. So he often says, put everything in your calendar and do everything in your calendar. So if it's put in your calendar, it's got to mean something. If it's not in your calendar, it's just in your mind. Do you guys ever feel like so busy? Like you just got so many things. Like I can't get organized. I'm overwhelmed. I'm frustrated. I got all of this stuff. It's just like all of these ideas and things you got to do. But as soon as you put it down on paper, what happens? You feel so much better. Just helps you to be able to organize. You know, my husband in his calendar, he's got it broken down. Like these are the things I want to accomplish this week. And these are the things I want to accomplish this month. These are the things I'm going to accomplish today. So he breaks it down, all of the things that are super important. Gregg says you got to prioritize the things that will lead to the life that you want. I'm going to pre-frame this because I know this is important for a lot of people. Faith, family, and fitness. Yes? These things often get our time, scheduled time. Our kids have activities. Our churches have scheduled events. We'll call it Sunday morning, for example. All right, our fitness regime is I work out 3 times a week, whatever time, it's always consistent. So these things get the attention of ours, and then of course we get the results in those areas. But your business requires just as much of your attention. You want to excel in your business, you've got to allocate the same priority level for it. So what can you do? If you're working a part-time or a full-time job, you got to put in that time. You don't show up for work, you're at risk of losing that paycheck, and your family probably needs that paycheck for a lot of you guys. So put in your schedule the hours for your full-time or part-time job. Your family has some non-negotiables. There are some things you're responsible for your family that somebody else cannot do for you. If Gregg tells Andrea he's picking up his kids, he can't just be like, hey, Jen, if you got 15 minutes, if you don't mind, could you just swing by, grab Ella? That's his obligation. You know what I mean? But yet Jay White will say there were things when he was getting his business going that were not his obligation. There were the things that were negotiable, that he didn't need to necessarily do, that other people could do, whether it was somebody in his own family or somebody that they could rely on, such as another family that had the same event that your kid had to be at. They could maybe help out to be able to pick them up. But you've got some non-negotiables for your family, that has to go in your calendar. If I promise Abby that I'm going to do something and I don't show up, I've lost credibility in my own family. And then we've got the WFG non-negotiables. So I want to break this down. Last week we did training on the non-negotiables. If you're full-time in this business or working towards and have the ability to be at these things, would be the agent training Wednesdays and Saturdays. If you can only do one like me when I started, just do one. Just go all in on the hours that you have to go all in on. But when we recruited you, we told you we have agent training twice a week, and you said that that was going to work for you. Whether it was both, once or once in a while, when you say that you're going to be there, it's really important to be there. Dynasty Live, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. This is 45 minutes, and then we've got time for our appointments. And if I'm a sometimes agent or a part-time or full-time agent, how long are my appointments max? I'm giving you a hint. Let's call it 2 hours, even though we know it's not. But we need time for preparing, and we need time to be able to put in our notes. So if I'm doing Dynasty Live, I'm doing my agent training, I'm doing my team events, call it 3 hours a week. I've got a couple of appointments stacked in there on a part-time basis, showing up to everything and doing 5 appointments a week. You guys are at 20 hours per week. Full-time, you'd be at 40. And to be able to get the results of 20 hours and 40 hours, your bank account's going to notice the difference when you allocate the time. All right, we'll finish on this. Greg says, show me your calendar and I can tell you your future. I actually heard him say it today. Okay. And this is the reality. If we want to be able to accomplish big things, we just got to be able to put in the most important things that are in line with the goals that are most important to us. Do those most important things, and you will be able to look at the person sitting next to you 30 days, 90 days, 6 months, or even a year from now. And you're going to feel not just how proud you are today for accomplishing, you're going to feel how proud it is to be able to have accomplished them as well. So with that, love and appreciate you. When I get to welcome up Greg.
Awesome job, Jen. Awesome. It is so important to figure out what your priorities are and then actually prioritize them, right? Are you prioritizing your priorities? How about that, right? Robin Sharma, that wrote one of my favorite books, The Greatness Guide. If you've never read that book, there's a Greatness Guide book 1 and a Greatness Guide book 2, and they're both awesome. And he said, your schedule doesn't lie. So he basically said, well, you say it's important to grow your business, but let's look at your calendar for the last month and see how much time you spent doing that. You say that fitness is important to you. Well, if we look at your schedule for the last month, did you have a bunch of workouts that you actually completed? So your schedule doesn't lie. And then one more thing that I'll add on that topic in general is get in the habit of writing everything down that you need to do. Right? If you think of if you call somebody today, here's like some of it's easy. You call somebody today and they say, oh, I'm busy today, call me next week. And you're like, oh, okay, I should go write my schedule to call them next week. Same thing applies to you submit an insurance application today, make a note 4 or 5 days down the road to check the IA website or Avari portal to check on the status of that. If you send away a tax-free savings account transfer, you don't just send it away and hope everything's going to work out. You should make yourself a note 5-10 days later to be following up with it, whatever it might be. Here's another thing is, have you ever noticed that either not everybody calls you back or not everybody that you email necessarily emails you back? So what I also do to kind of take that to the next level, maybe I needed to call Ben LeClaire today and I call him and I leave him a voicemail. And I write down a week later or 2 weeks later, follow up with Ben, just in case he didn't call me back, then I've got a reminder to call him back. Does that make sense? So get in the habit of writing everything down that you need to do. If you don't have access to your day timer and you think of something you need to do, what can you do? See, exactly. Talk to Siri, right? Talk to Siri. Hey, Siri, remind me at noon tomorrow to call Chris if I don't have somewhere to write it down, right? Set yourself reminders wherever you need to set yourself reminders. It's funny, I'll be driving my kid to school in the morning and I'll think of somebody that I need to call. And I'll be like, hey, Ella, can you write down that this afternoon I need to call Jen or whatever it is, right? So just whenever I think of something I need to do, it gets written down. All right, next up, the second half to the Ben and Jen Power duo. He spends a bunch of his time in Montreal growing an awesome team in Quebec. Fortunately, he's here with us today. Please help me welcome Ben LeClaire.
Awesome. Hey, first of all, great job on being here. I'm excited to be here. I hope that you guys are excited to be here as well. Either you're in person or on Zoom. This is a special thing about business. You know, it's not every business and it's certainly not every job where you're excited to go back to work and excited to be in the office. And you guys are creating all of this environment as well for everybody. So the topic that was given to me is what I feel like the foundation of a successful business. And if you were to guess, what would be foundation of a successful business would be habits of doing what things? Yeah, the daily fives, right? Contacts is definitely one of them. So I'll kind of go through these, not rapidly. Talk louder? Man.
I don't know how close this thing needs to be.
But I guess I have a soft voice, eh? Can you guys hear me okay now? Is it good now?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to scream here for you guys. But number one is to have goals and to read them as well. So if we're talking about the daily five, these are 5 basic things for each and every one of us to be able to do consistently, to be able to have the results that you want to have. So what are 1 to 3 things that you can be obsessed about? not 56, but what would be 1 to 3 things that you can just be excited about? Excited about showing up at the office on January 2nd, right? Obviously, you're excited about something, so have them in front of you. And this is an important thing. You know, I remember, and Greg has it now. He's always had it as well. When he was going after his $1 million ring, he had a little photo of the $1 million ring. He always had photos about Odyssey trips as well. So what are things that you're excited about? And then have it in front of you all the time. I have it on my phone. So every time I take a look at my phone, you see 100. We're driving for 100 licenses in the base, 350 licenses in the team. So what are you excited about? And have it in front of you. Number 2 is contacts per day. So you should try not to have a day where you're not talking to anybody about your business. As little amount of days per year that you can have where you're not talking to people. I mean, a perfect year would be excellent, but the reality is nobody's perfect. Some days you're going to have more, some days you're going to have less. So try not to go through a day where you're not talking to anybody. I would rather you have 0 goals with a whole bunch of consistent activities than having clearly defined goals with no activity. Right? So let's make sure, like, all of these are important, but at the end of the day, the name of the game is how many people you're talking to. It's that simple. You're going to improve absolutely everything else. Number 3 is pre-plan your day. We've talked about this a little bit so far. Greg talked about it. Jen talked about it as well. So what are the things that you need to do today, and when are you going to do them? Because if you're like me, so let's say you have a list of things that you need to do today. Which ones do you do first? The ones you love to do or the ones you don't love to do?
Love.
Yeah, you do the ones you want to do, and you leave all the crappy stuff at the end, right? And then what ends up happening at the end of the day? Oh, there's no more time, right? So we'll do it tomorrow. And then what happens tomorrow? The exact same thing. All right, so when are you going to do those things? So one of the habits that, and I'm not perfect, right? Just like everybody else. But when you have a list of things to do, when are you going to do them during the day? So when are your breaks? So if you're full of appointments, or maybe you don't have a lot of appointments, write it down from 1 to 1:30. I'm going to follow up on this email, call this person, do this thing. Right? From 2 to 3, I'm going to do a phone zone. This is my to-do list. From 3 to 4, whatever it is, right? You guys get the point. Now, when you write down things in your agenda, life is less stressful. This week for me is like a perfect example. Not that life was stressful this week, but I did a really crappy job in writing things in my agenda. And guess what? Today I got a text, and it was not the first text from a client. I've gotten multiple things where I forgot to do things that I said that I was going to do. And that really sucks when you get, right? Like, there was a client of mine that wanted to have a review, and I had texted her, I think on the 16th of December, right? Saying, the 2nd of January works well for me. Does that work for you? She texted me back. She's like, yeah, it works perfect. And then today she texted me saying, hey, Happy New Year. Hope you had a great New Year's. And then I'm like, I never replied, right? So I had to give her a call and say, hey, I'm so sorry. I forgot to mark it. I never followed up with you. Can we meet up a different day? Today won't work, right? So, man, just lesson learned again, right? Write everything down when it comes up so you don't forget about it. Number 4 is accountability. Connect with your coach or trainer every day. Chris talked about it. You will not call your trainer too much. You will not call your trainer too much. I love the saying that the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? So if you're a trainer, the best person to work with is the person that wants your time, that is calling, that wants to do appointments, that wants to improve, that has questions about their business. That's who you want to work with. So you'll never call them too much. Okay, so it's easier to let yourself down as well than it is to let somebody else down. Like if I tell Greg, hey, Greg, this is what I'm doing, I don't want to let him down. I want to make sure I do it. But if I keep it just to myself, it's easy for me to say, it's okay. I didn't really achieve it. That's fine. Okay. Number 5, and we'll finish on this, is read 10 pages per day. This is so easy to do. Obviously, so easy not to do, just like all of the daily 5s as well. The more consistent you are at doing this, the better your life will be. Okay, so personal development, personal growth is really the road to bigger things and a bigger life. Again, sometimes I get derailed off of my daily 5s. Sometimes I'm like bang on it, but the goal is to get derailed not as often as you could be, and just be on the rails as much as possible. Okay, so it's okay to get derailed, but just get back on track, period. I mean, that's all that it is. Just get back on track as fast as possible. So at one point in my career, it took me a long time to get back on track sometimes when I got derailed, and now it's just shorter because I'm just aware of it a lot faster. So hope you guys got some value with that. Sorry for my soft voice, but let's welcome up.
Awesome
Gregg
job, right?
Strynadka.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. And here's part of how I look at the daily 5 is that your life and your business are here, and you want your life and your business to be here. And there's just 5 simple things that you need to do every day that will keep you building your business and lead you to that life that you want. And another very quick tip, kind of a small tip, but something that that I started to do a couple of years ago is they keep adding features to these things, right? And one of the features that I like, and I'm sure that Samsung probably does something similar, but with an iPhone, you can pin a text, up to 9 of them, up at the top. So let's say if I'm on vacation and I get a message from one of my clients that's like, oh, hey, blah, 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 or I'm out for dinner with my family or whatever it is, then I'll pin it to the top. And why would I do that? Now I can't forget about it, right? And if all my pinned conversations are full, then I can leave a message. I can read a message, but then I can leave it unread, right? So then I can message them and say, hey, I'm just out for dinner. I'll get back to you tomorrow morning, or I could just get back to them tomorrow morning. But that's just a little thing you can do with messages that you get that you're not in a position to respond or deal with it at the moment, just to make sure that you don't forget. All righty, next up, brand new. Well, I mean, big year 2024 for Justin and Amy LaRue. Getting married for one, or no, was that last year? Was that the year before? All right, that was the year before. Having a baby, right? And crossing $400,000 a year in income. And Justin's going to be talking about, in my opinion, one of the biggest initiatives, if not the #1 biggest initiative that I have ever seen WFG come out with from a bonus program perspective. So please help me welcome Justin LaRue.
Thank you. All right. Happy New Year, everyone. So good to see you all on Zoom. In person, speakers have been incredible so far. And you know what? Greg said it so well. I'm absolutely ecstatic about this new initiative. And you think about it, you know, with WFG since its inception, many of you might have heard that there's an SMD bonus, right? But you have to be an SMD to qualify for that. What about everyone else? Obviously, if you're not an SMD yet, that's probably a big goal of yours is to get there. But when this came out, I mean, we've completely unlocked bonuses for every single contract level, ladies and gentlemen. That's a really big deal. So I'm excited to talk about what does this really mean for you. Big button. There we go. Thank you, Mr. Mike. Hey, big shout out to Mike Wells. He's helping us out big time tonight. Thank you for that. Yeah, thank you. So let's talk about it. In terms of the requirements, right? So what do you need to do to qualify for this? Well, ultimately, you actually have to do 10,000 personal points. Personal points meaning you helping clients yourself individually, not your team, okay? And on top of that is you doing 1 direct recruit in a month, okay? We've got 30 days in a month on average. In all of those 30 days, can we agree that we could probably find 1 new person to be interested to come work with us and getting a license in the industry? I think so, right? Absolutely. I did 1 a month last year, and this year I'm excited to double that and get to 25. That's a big goal for my personal recruiting. So it's the perfect business plan. The other caveat is 75 NPR. That's just making sure 75% of the business you're putting on the books stays on the books. With Dynasty, our standards are way over that. We write quality business. We don't cut corners. So really, that's not going to be an issue to worry about. Next slide, please. Thank you. So, and then on the, so I guess for the SMD bonuses, you're going to be at 10% of commissions earned. Okay. But here's the cool thing about this is SMDs, it actually caps out to $1,000. So even if I go and write 30,000 personal points in this month of January, the most I'll make is $1,000. And I'm actually thrilled about that because any other contract level below SMD, TA, associates, and MDs, it is uncapped, ladies and gentlemen. So what I like about that is they're putting a lot more capital and money towards all the other contracts. So it's less of a top-heavy structure. We're bringing in more and more money and resources to all contracts, and it's just making it a very, very even playing field, which is incredible, right? So I wanted to run a couple of examples of what this could really look for all of you, because a lot of you are going to make a lot more money this year by doing the same thing, just by literally running your business and helping clients and things that we would do anyways. Let's see if this will work or not. So let's say you're an associate, right? As we know, if you're new, associate is a 36% contract. You write 10,000 points in a month, you get a direct, you're going to earn a $3,600 commission from that, right? So 10% of your commission, you're going to earn a $360 bonus, right? And some of you might look at $360 like a lot of money, and some maybe not so much. Well, I'll tell you, my previous background being a millwright, I was paid at a $45 to $50 an hour rate. It didn't matter how much more time I'd put in, there's no bonus I'd be getting, right? There's overtime, but like literally, you're doing what you would do and you're getting extra money, right? Next example, if you don't mind, Mike, thank you, is let's say you decided you wanted to really up your game. And let's say in a month you want to do 20,000 personal points and at least one direct. And of course, you're not limited to one direct, ladies and gentlemen. You can do more than that. But you're going to earn a $7,200 commission from your 36% contract. And that's a $720 bonus. Like, in my opinion, that's serious money in bonuses. I mean, if you do that, every other month, or in a better case scenario, every month, I mean, that's a significant increase in your monthly cash flow. How much quicker are a lot of you going to get to your 50K watches? How many more people are going to be able to get their 100K rings by doing something like this? Next example, please. Hey, if we want to go at a higher scale and you write 30,000 personal points, you're recruiting, you're building a team, you're building a great business, a $1,000 bonus at an associate contract level. So next up is just an example of a marketing director contract. So again, you're at a higher contract, 51%. If you write 10,000 points, you're going to make just over $5,000 and a $500 bonus on just 10,000 points, right? 10,000 points, you guys, is maybe 2 to 4 clients, 2 to 5 clients, not a lot, right? And, that's pretty significant. So next example is just, again, more production, 20,000 points. You're earning a $1,000 bonus. Next one is if, again, you're going to run a higher production, $1,500 bonus on 30,000 personal points. So again, this is incredible. A lot of you, again, are probably going to make an extra $5,000 this year, an extra $10,000. Some of you might make an extra $15,000 to $20,000, you guys. Like, this is a really, really big deal. I mean, think about this. You could actually have your rent or your mortgage covered from your own bonus. How cool is that, if you think about it, right? So in my last few minutes, I wanted to show you that this is real. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my very first personal production bonus that I earned in November. How cool is that? Like, this is real, right? This is our base shop bonus, and then this is the personal production capped at SMD at 1,000, which is awesome. For a lot of you who are not SMDs, you can blow past that number. So in closing, I just wanted to give you a tangible way to track. How can you get to 10,000 points? How can you work towards getting one new recruit in your business? It's a simple business plan. I want to help you really instill predictability. You know, your business shouldn't be ran with guessing games, right? Hope is not a strategy. We've heard that many times, right? So in this next slide, we're going to go over a very simple business plan, something called 12-8-5-3-1. If you want to write that down for sake of time, I don't have too much to dive into it, but ultimately is on average for every 12 appointments that you book. And our team, we call these FTAs, which is a first time appointment. You're sitting down with someone for the first time, showing them this business. Of those 12 that you book, typically 8 are going to happen. We know that there's going to be cancellations, there's going to be no-shows, there's going to be reschedules. It's normal. If you run a physiotherapy clinic, a dental clinic, you're going to see the same kind of numbers, right? Ours isn't any different. But of those 8 appointments that you complete, you're probably going to do 5 info gathers. Of those, you're going to help 3 clients and you're going to recruit 1 person. So what's cool about this is, let's say you're like, well, Justin, I want to recruit more than 1 person in my team this month. Well, what number do I need to adjust? This top one, right? Because that's the one you've got the most control on, is how many contacts you make, like Ben and many other people and Chris were talking about. That's the one thing you have the most control on, right? In terms of how many contacts it takes to book 12, it's whatever it takes, quite frankly, whatever amount of contacts it takes to get to your appointment goals. So hopefully that helps you guys, and hopefully you're excited, and I hope that you qualify for this bonus program because it's a big deal. Thanks for the time.
Awesome. Way to go, Justin. Did an awesome job talking about it. And I really do think that from a results perspective, in terms of what your goal should be every month, he just described it to you. 10,000 personal points and 1 recruit, whether you're part-time or you're full-time. I think that's really a perfect business plan to start with. And then you're going to be tapping into getting paid more money for doing the same thing that you were doing before. And I love it that it instills a bit of that bonus sort of culture at the lower levels of our business in terms of TAs, As, and MDs, because as you grow your business and you become an SMD and you go on to being an EMD, your bonuses can start ranging anywhere from $3 to $5 to $10 to $20 to $30 to $40, $50,000, not just a year, but even on a monthly basis. And so this allows us to get our new people that are just getting licensed excited to be taking advantage of those bonus programs. So awesome job, Justin. All righty, next up, we are headed to Thunder Bay, Ontario. Paige and her husband Will are running an incredible business. They had an incredible year in 2024. They crossed over $250,000. They crossed over $300,000 in income. Sorry, Paige, I don't recall if you guys got to 350, but I just know it's growing very, very quickly. So everybody, please help me welcome to the call, EMD Paige Grant.
Thank you. Yes, we definitely crossed over 350. That felt good. So we're going to catch up to Justin and Amy here. I've got the pleasure of going through another family of the week. This is one of my favorites. I've gone over it a couple times because you guys can truly see the impact. Just give my computer a second because it's a little bit slow today. I feel like I shouldn't have shut it down for 2 days. That's what I get for taking a little break, hey? No, I'm just kidding. I'm really excited about this one. So talking about making money, when you guys see what this compensated us, whew, I'll get into that. But before this industry, I was a personal trainer, and trust me, making $350,000 a year as a personal trainer, that's just not going to happen when you're working a traditional, like I got to be there to train them. So I'm very grateful that I was recruited almost 9 years ago, and this is how we're helping families. So about the family, we got spouse 1, spouse 2. Okay, my friends, for those of you who are doing new family of the weeks, make sure you don't say the names. There's a little tip for 2025. So we had a 40-year-old and a 45-year-old, and they had a kiddo who was 10. And the reason they wanted to sit down with me was because they had heard about tax shelters for kids. And I was like, we can for sure talk about that. But a part of my job is I want to do a full look into what you guys have to see if I can help. Maybe we can help you save some money. Maybe you're already doing all the right things. We don't know till we look. And thank goodness that I did this. So they had no personal coverage. They just had a little bit of work coverage for spouse 2. Spouse 1 didn't have anything because she was self-employed. Okay, we see that often. Here's the thing though. Spouse 1 had $300,000 sitting in cash at an investment firm like not at a bank. It was at another firm. And I was like, what's going on there? He's like, well, truthfully, I kind of just forgot about it and haven't done anything about it. I'm like, all right, that's why you have people like me. And then spouse 2 had just under 50,000. But that was invested. So obviously we did a little comparison there. Obviously we nailed it. We always do. Being a broker, it's always better. And they both had tax-free savings accounts with a few $1,000s in them. So they have done a really great job as a family to save money, but they've never really utilized their TFSA. And I'm going to assume that was another reason why they wanted to learn about tax shelters for their kiddos. And so here were their goals. They wanted to insure themselves. Obviously, they understood that they were not in a good position if something were to happen to them. Number 2, tax shelters for their child. And then number 3, debt-free. I added this in because I thought it was funny. Number 4, this is what they said. Just do more with the savings. Just do more. They were just so overwhelmed. They didn't even know how to start. And so watch how we help them. The impact. All right. So we did a combo plan. So when you guys see that, what I mean by that is we did about 100,000 of permanent insurance and we did the rest term because they have, some good investments and they do have a house that was worth quite a bit. And so we didn't want to over insure them, but we wanted to make sure they had enough in case something happened. Spouse 2, we did 1.9 million because he did have 100,000 through work and he was a little bit older, so it saved them on cost there. We did get the child a small UL. I showed them whole life and UL. They liked the UL better for this kiddo. We moved all the investments to one of our product partners and their first maybe 7 days, maybe less, he already had made like $7,800. So he was pretty pleased with that. And then we also created them a debt-free plan. So they didn't realize that we could also do that because they had some stuff from her business and they wanted to just feel really good about things. So the family is fully covered. Their money is growing in proper investments. The TFSAs are focused to max those guys out and the debt-free plan is in place. So this is what it looks like, my friends. You'll notice the financial independence number over here at 60 years old before WFG, and I'm being nice giving them a 3% because I don't know when he would have actually invested that 300,000 of cash, but let's just say it was making 3. They would have had just over 600,000, okay? At 60 years old after they met us, and I'm gonna go averaging 9 because they were a little bit more risky, 1.7 million. So do you guys think they love me? Of course. By the way, one of the spouses started up with us. So very excited about that. She's going through her licensing right now. And then that doesn't even include the money inside their ULs and outside of their mortgage. We're going to have these guys debt-free in 3.5 years, but that was before she had interest in the business. So we could probably do that a lot quicker too. So boom, boom, boom. The points, 25,422. So you guys can do the math with that new bonus Justin just went through. As a training associate, pretty nice, $6,600. As an associate, $9,100. As an MD, almost $13,000. And as an SMD, $16,700. Let me tell you, my friends, though, in the beginning, I started at 22. These were not the families I was sitting with. I was sitting with people that didn't have a ton. They were just starting off. They were pretty green. But let me tell you, if you're young on this call, those people grow up. So hang in there, okay? It's going to be really good because you're going to be that person that they come to. And it feels really good helping macho families like this because on the outside, they looked taken care of. But on the inside, there was so much we could do for them. So talk to everybody. All right. Thanks, guys.
Awesome message. Anybody else excited to get your skill level to the point where you could go and do a great job for a family like that? Right? Where they're going to have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars more money. And then sure, Paige is okay with getting paid 15 or 20 grand or whatever that was. But at the end of the day, it's worth way more to the family than it is to what the agent gets compensated. So just another awesome example. Thanks, Paige. All righty, next up, we are headed to, I think, Costa Rica. I can't keep track of where in the world is Ben Hilborn. Maybe if I had Instagram, then I could keep track of him. But I admire that as Ben is traveling, he's making sure that he keeps a tight schedule and keeps supporting his teammates and helping his clients and growing his business. Quite frankly, I don't think most people have the discipline to be able to do that. But also, there's a bit of a theme today, just that all of these people had absolute best years ever in their business. And same thing with Ben, biggest year of his WFG career by far. A huge congratulations. Please help me welcome Ben Hilborn.
Awesome. Thanks, Greg. And yes, I just got to Costa Rica today, hanging out here for 2 weeks, going to Panama next week, I guess in 2 weeks, and then Colombia, and then we'll continue from there. But my topic today I'm excited to talk about is why we recruit with WFG. So there's many different ways and I guess angles we could take this topic. I'm excited to dive into a few of them. So first and foremost, I want you guys to know that I was not a fast starter whatsoever in WFG. Right? Is anybody else a slow starter? You don't have to put your hands up, but a lot of us are slow cookers and we don't have very fast starts. So it took me, so February of this year, it's going to be 9 years that I got my code set up with WFG. It took me a year and a half, 18 months to get my first license on my team. So I was not a quick starter whatsoever, but now we're about to cross over 50 licenses on our team and things are rocking now. So, you know, at the beginning, it could be a little bit slow start, but you can catch up a lot of momentum. And it took me a little while to wrap my head around this whole concept of recruiting and building a team and having a business. Because as an employee, I used to be a welder in the oil field back in Alberta there. And it just wasn't an option to be able to do that. So first and foremost, I think the idea of recruiting kind of comes off sketchy because, you know, there's all these like sketchy MLM companies that are out there that you see on Facebook and Instagram, and they're trying to sell you their vitamins and fat wraps and face creams and all that. They have all these high pressure sales kind of posts that they have. It just seems really kind of annoying, and people just think, oh, recruiting is negative. Recruiting is a bad thing. But the fact is that everywhere in the world recruits. Every single place, every single company, every single government, everywhere in the world recruits. If you pay attention to signs and advertisements, companies are always recruiting, except the fact is that they don't always call it recruiting. What do they do a lot of times? They call it hiring, right? They're looking to hire to scale their business to help out more clients. So it's the exact same thing with our company and same thing with every company is if they want to grow the revenue, right? Help out more clientele to bring in more revenue, to make more money. Every company has to recruit and train and hire more people in order to help more clients, right? That's business 101 at the basics. So you can think about it. The Army is always recruiting. You see their commercials. The police force, you see their signs and their billboards everywhere. College sports teams are always trying to recruit the best talent around the world. I see all the time driving around Canada. I see all the time there's advertisements on the back of like plumbing, you know, vans, always looking to hire and train more plumbers and grow their company. So hiring is recruiting. I want you to attach that together. Hiring is recruiting. We just can't say that we're hiring with WFG because we don't pay somebody minimum wage. We don't pay them a set hourly wage. So we call it recruiting. So a few reasons on why we recruit. So number one, none of us would be here if somebody didn't recruit us first. None of us would be here if somebody didn't recruit us first. I would still be working. I don't even know what the temperature is. I think in Alberta, it's like -20, -30 or something up in Fort McMurray. I would be doing that instead of being in, I think it's +26 here right now in Costa Rica, if somebody didn't recruit me. I couldn't even imagine where my life would be if somebody didn't put my name on a list, call me, invite me out to an open house, and recruit me. So all of us were recruited. Second thing is that we just simply need more people with our company. We need to train more brokers to help out more people within Canada and within North America. Our company right now, we're sitting, I think in Canada, around 25 licensed agents here in Canada. Overall, we're over 80,000 in North America. And it could seem, you know, that's pretty big, 80,000 licensed agents. But the fact is, if you were in Las Vegas, or maybe you saw some of the posts if you didn't make it last year, that the market share that we have, so the amount of clients and customers that we have as WFG agents in the financial industry is less than 1%. Less than, we have 80,000 licensed brokers. We have less than 1% market share. So where does everybody go? They go to the bank, right? They're still going to the bank, even though they know the bank's not the best. They know they're not getting helped. They're not being educated. They get left behind. So that just means that we have to grow our company to 200, 300, 400,000 licensed agents in order to start making a scratch in in the marketplace and actually helping people so that they're not left behind. And last one here, I'm going to go a little bit more in depth on this one, but why do we want to recruit? Lifestyle and for a business. So it's the best way and the fastest way that you can truly buy your life back. Freedom and buying your life back. So when we're new, yeah, it's a weird concept to be able to think about training somebody, right? We're in a brand new industry ourselves and we got to learn all the financial concepts and how to pass these on. But I want you to think about it in this sense, right? You may be thinking, well, what do I know? How can I train somebody? How can I pass on the skills? Well, you're probably, right, if you still have a day job or you think about your last day jobs that you've had before, you've probably already trained people in your jobs that you've worked in the past. But you just didn't get paid to do it. It was just your job, right? When I was a journeyman welder, I had apprentices work with me all the time. I didn't get paid an extra $10 an hour to go take on new apprentices. So we're helping teach and train and pass on skills at our other jobs, but we're not getting paid for it. So guess what? With WFG, you do get paid for it. And if you're new and you still don't know everything, guess what? Your MD, your SMD, your CFT, we're going to train your team for you and you still get paid because it's your teammate. So digging in deeper now on the lifestyle, there's two ways to become financially independent. We talked about this on our 7 keys to a fast start class. There's 2 ways to become financially independent. One is we can have residual income. So residual income. Number 2 is we can have passive income. Residual income and passive income. These are 2 different things. So residual income, what is this? Well, we talk about, and we help our clients with this every single day, finding a financial independence number. If we save up $2 million and we can conservatively get a 5% return on our money, that's going to generate $100,000 a year just in pure interest from our investments. So I would consider that residual income, making money off of our money. But how long is it going to take us to save up $2 million? Well, we got calculators. We can figure that out depending on how much we're putting into our investments. But maybe that'll take 40 years to be able to actually save up $2 million and then live off of that interest and be financially independent. So that's option 1, residual income, financial independence number, save up $2 million. Maybe it takes us 40 years to get there. Second part of it, within WFG, we can build up something called our book of business. So we can get residual income from the insurance and the investments that we have set up for our clients as long as they keep their plans in place. Oh, a bug just went in my mouth. Lots of bugs down here in Costa Rica. But so overall, if you wanted to have a residual income at WFG, again, about that $100,000 a year, how big of a book of business would you need? Well, I would say you probably need about $10 million invested, plus, maybe 200 or 300 insurance clients and policies set up. And that would pay you approximately $100,000 a year residually. So how long is it going to take you to do that? 10 years, 15 years, maybe, depending how fast you go and how fast you get after it. So that's a lot faster, right? You got 40 years, saving up $2 million. Option 2, your book of business, maybe let's call that 15 years to build up $100,000 a year residually. Now, what do most employees do? A bunch of my friends who aren't in WFG, that aren't in the entrepreneurial world, what's their kind of strategy of creating this type of residual income so that they can have a better lifestyle? Well, it's rental properties, right? You guys know people that have rental properties? Well, why do people buy rental properties, have renters in there? It's because if they have a property and their mortgage is $1,500 a month and they can rent it out for $2,000, theoretically, they're making $500 a month residually with that property, right? But they had to save up that down payment. So maybe it's 30 grand, 50 grand, stuff like that. So how long does that take? I don't know. Second part of that, $500 a month of residual income. That's like nothing. If you're an associate and you had one training associate on your team and you get a 10% override, if they helped out 1 or 2 clients in a month, you're making $500 in overrides. Already passive income. So I wouldn't even get started on wanting to be a landlord or not wanting to be a landlord, but I'll move on to my last thing here, last 30 seconds. So this month in December, the final pay cycle just hit. couple hours ago. I made about $30,000 here in December while traveling abroad, working abroad, all that. Now, overall, on my personal pen, so I think I'm going to get that personal bonus this month for the first time. I wrote about 10,000 points, so that's going to pay me about $6,000, maybe $7,000 on my own personal pen. So out of 30,000, about, let's call it 6,000 was my personal pen. Now, if it was just me building my own book of business, I would have made $6,000 this month. But because I've built a team and we have a brokerage, about 50 brokers, $24,000 I got paid out because of passive income. Now, passive income means you're making money whether you're there or not, right? So you've trained somebody, passed on the skills. So every time they go help out a client, WG will always pay you a small percentage because you deserve it. If you've taken somebody under your wing for 1, 2, 3 years and you taught them all your tips and tricks, of course you deserve to always get paid a small percentage for the rest of their career, right? They're still going to get paid their 6%, their bonuses, all that. But it's built in that you'll always get paid. So, in 2024, I'll just end on this. I went to 14 countries in 2024. It was a pretty busy year. My business and my income grew by 40%, you guys. 40%. And the fact is that is because I built a business. It took me a little while. It took me a year and a half to get my first license. But because of this opportunity that we have and the privilege that we have to build a team, pass our skills on and train other people, you can build an incredible lifestyle for yourself too. You don't have to travel as much as I do, but a guy like on my team, Norbert Verlich, just took his whole family down to Mexico for a month, right? There's a bunch of people, the Daws are in Hawaii for a month right now. You can escape winter and you can have summer all year round if you build a business and you recruit and you pass on this opportunity to other people. So that's all I got. Thanks so much, Greg. We'll see you guys in Banff in about a month and a half.
Awesome job, Ben. And I've said this many times, but I didn't have a lot of advantages when I came into this business. I was 22 years old. I didn't go to university. I wasn't a good student, all of these things, but I had experience that my family owned a booster juice store. So I was managing it, and part of my job was recruiting people and training people. So then when I came to WFG and they said, you can recruit and build a team, I'm like, well, that sounds great. And then I realized that I could recruit people to a business that could actually help them change their life. Whereas if I hired somebody to come work at our booster juice store, they were going to work minimum wage until they found a better job and then leave. It wasn't going to change their life. It was just going to be a paycheck for a few months or 6 months or a year. But I think Ben did an awesome job describing why we need to recruit. We need to grow our business so that we can go out there and help more people, right? Quite frank, many of you maybe aren't as aware as I am, having been here for 22 years, but our industry is not focused on helping middle-income families. If you called your bank and you asked them if you could book a meeting with a financial advisor and that you have $150 a month that you want to put into a TFSA, what are they going to tell you? Probably just no, right? They're just going to say no. So we're doing what most companies in Canada are not doing to get out there and help normal, everyday Canadians. And to me, that's the #1 biggest reason we need to grow, is because if we don't grow to help more middle-income Canadians, I don't think anybody else is going to. So awesome job, Ben. All righty, next up, we're headed to Toronto. Miss Lena Stadler, formerly Stadler, currently Mareku. Lena grew up in the business with us in Edmonton for several years, moved to Toronto a few years ago, growing an incredible business from coast to coast. Lena, I really enjoyed our conversation today, hearing about her plans for her team and her business coming up in 2025. But please help me welcome Lena Stadler.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Greg. It's technically still Stadler. I haven't changed it. So I get that transition period. For the longest time, people called Savannah Sarnowski, and now people don't even know what that is. So it's all good. We're all learning together, getting used to it together. I loved the call so far. And something that stood out to me is Paige going through, how much that cycle or that family had helped her and what she got paid on that. And it was funny because I remember going out for a lunch that Paige qualified for when she was brand new. And I kid you not, like, she didn't even look up. She didn't even make eye contact when she was talking. And now to see just, this amazing woman that she is, made whatever that was, 20, that was just one part of the month that she had. I think she had over $50,000 earned in a month. That's crazy. right? And why is that? She went and learned, and same Ben talked about this as well, but she went and learned a high paying skill. It's January 2nd. You can commit to learning a high paying skill this year. And you guys are all in the right place right now. We have over 300 people on this call. You guys are all headed in the right direction. And what's super, super cool is you can feel really, really good about what you do for families every single day, right? I had a client call me today. He's an investment client. He's in his late 40s. And he, at the time when we met, I even looked at my emails. I'm like, I want to make sure the notes are there. Like, did I talk to him about critical illness? And he said, no, I'm good. I don't want the critical illness for any insurance. I just want to focus on the investment side. And he just had a heart attack not that long ago. And he's like, I have to clear out all my investments that he spent so much time saving up, right? Because of that. So what we do is important. People need it. Don't worry about inconveniencing people for their own good. Talk to them about it. And you just never know. You just never know if something like that can happen. Okay, I'm going to talk about the top 5 Dynasty resources that we have. And we'll break these down as we go. But this is just super, super cool. When I first started, I felt like there was so much to learn. And for what we have right now, the system that we have right now, how fine-tuned it is, you have everything at your fingertips. But it can also get a little overwhelming with everything that's out there. So I'm going to go through exactly the system that we run as a team of what we go through one step at a time. So there's a fast start bonus. How many of you guys qualified for the fast start bonus? Maybe pop it in the chat. That's super cool. By the way, if you didn't, that's okay. Let's just focus on getting the licensing done. And maybe you set that goal of like that 30 days, that 4-week time frame that you go and get it done, regardless of if you get the bonus or not. Just set that goal to get it done and out of the way, right? This is super cool. When I started, we didn't have a fast start bonus, and this is huge, right? You get $500 reimbursed or 300, depending on what timeline you do it in. And that helps with the licensing. That's super cool. We have Eric's boot camps. Also didn't have that when I started. I remember trying to like meet with people that were also studying and like study together, because I was just not good when it came to sitting down and reading a page. And then I don't know if you've ever experienced this, where you read the page and then you get to the bottom and you're like, what did I just read? And you have to go and reread it. I don't know, maybe I have like ADHD or something, but I would just get so distracted and we'd have to go redo it. So having it live, having someone teach you this, super, super valuable. And people that go through these boot camps, the weekend boot camps, they just pass exams so fast. And we have expansion presentations, and these are available Tuesday nights, Thursday nights. We even have it recorded. So if they can't make one of those, you can just send them the recording. We have Dynasty Live and then the YouTube channel. So let's dig into what does that actually entail. So number one, I think what you need to do is you got to set up a calendar. I like the online calendar. If you're a dinosaur, maybe you have a paper schedule. I'm just bugging. Took me a while to transition from paper to online, but I like online because you can have a reoccurring meeting. It's just blocked off. When you're a brand new agent, you have to treat this like a business, not a hobby, right? If you're kind of like not setting up your schedule, right? Jen did a great job of talking about that and really making sure you have everything in there. It's going to take a long time to learn all of this stuff, right? And you're probably going to feel more frustrated and overwhelmed because you're not organized. You want to treat this like a business, not a hobby. Hobbies don't pay much, right? So be very serious about this stuff. Time management is everything. And by the way, as long as you fit it into your schedule, almost everything can be done. If you look at it, Trump has the same 25 hours. Maybe that's not a good example. He has a lot of help, but we have all the same 24 hours in a day, right? Any famous person that's highly successful, Elon Musk, has the same 24 hours in a day. And so how are we managing that time? What can you delegate? So got to treat it like a business, and then block off the important times, your team calls. If you're still studying, put the boot camps in there, especially if it's the module that you're working on. And very important to also add in the field training. This will take care of the licensing bonus. By the way, how many of you guys, may put your hand up if you learn better hands-on? I feel like that's the great majority. So some people, they're like, I'm stuck on the course. I'm stuck on the course, but they haven't gone on any field training appointments. You're going to be stuck on the course if you don't go on field training appointments, right? When you see it live, you see it hands-on, it starts to make sense. And I did a good 10 appointments before I got licensed, and it really helped with the study process. So if you feel like you're stuck, reach out to your CFT, your SMD, and say, hey, what's this field training thing? How do I get on it? What do I need to do? Because it's going to really help you. And then after your license, by the way, this is not only for after your license, but again, bite-sized pieces I think are so important. Dynasty Live, this is every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Holidays can vary a little bit, but it's 11:15, well, Eastern time, 9:15 if you're in Alberta. But there's no shortage of training. And all of these are recorded on the YouTube channel. So I say after your license because the priority is get your field training and your studying done. And then you can become a student of the business and go learn some of the stuff into a little bit more depth, right? There's only so much that your trainer will show you. This helps you stay plugged in, holds you accountable, keeps you motivated. We all need a little bit of motivation every once in a while, right? People are like, I don't know, that motivation thing, I don't really need it. But then they're not actually working on their goals. Yeah, we all need it. We all need to make sure that we're stoking the fire of what our goals and our vision needs to look like. Otherwise, you get stuck in whether it's the studying, which for me wasn't fun, or, you know, just other challenges as you're learning a high paying skill. So get in the driver's seat. We'll teach you how to drive. I like this quote. If you don't know how to even start the car, you don't need to know how to, you know, I don't even know what transmission fluid is, but you don't need to know how to change all of that stuff. I usually, thank God I have a Tesla now. I haven't had to worry about this, but I feel bad for whoever bought my last car because oil changes didn't happen very often. But start with the basics. Get in the field, go to the boot camps, utilize the resources that we have. And again, there's going to be so much out there that if you're just allowing it to distract you, it will. And so get your schedule, pop everything in there, talk to your SMD if there's anything else. And because building that new schedule, or if you're brand new here, this is a whole new muscle you're building. And when you're building a new muscle, it can hurt sometimes, especially at the beginning, right? And so if you have that schedule organized and you're treating it like a business, you can go learn a high paying skill. Whether you're part-time or full-time, go all in on the times that you set for yourself. You have to meet us halfway, right? Your trainer will meet you halfway. They can't study for you. They can't book appointments for you. I mean, they can help you make those calls, but you have to meet them halfway. Is this going to be easy? It's going to take work. It's probably one of the hardest things that I did, but it was one of the most rewarding things as well. And just reflecting back on this year and what our life is just, it's insane. It's insane what life can turn out to be and how many people you can bless in that process. So thank you for the time, Greg, and I'll hand it back to you.
Awesome. Awesome message, Lena. I'm just here with my dinosaur day timer here that I carry around with me all the time. But one of the things I love that Lena, a phrase she used a few times, is something to do with developing high-paying skills. And something that it's hit me many, many times, how fortunate I feel that I got good at something that helps people, makes the world a better place, and pays me and my family a lot of money, right? I could have been good at cooking, but never been able to make any money doing that. I could have been a good guitar player or a good singer, but obviously most of them don't make any money either. I could have been a good golfer, but if I'm not in probably the top 500 golfers on the planet, then I'm not making a living doing that either. So I feel so blessed that I got good at something that actually helps people and makes money. And you can too. We have all of these resources to help you get better and better at this, and to use these resources to help you build your business. Whether it's having your newly licensed agents plug into Eric Harding's boot camps, or you and your agents invite to the expansion presentations, or many of you have our big event coming up in Banff. You don't have to do any planning for it. All you have to do is buy a ticket for a few $100s, and then you get to use that event to build your business. So take advantage of the resources that we provide. Awesome job, Lena. Thank you very much. All righty, next up, we got a new $250,000 earner in the house. And sometimes I've got to kind of remind myself that in our business, especially with our team, it's normal that we have all of these people getting promotions. We have all of these people hitting income milestones. But in the real world, of course, it's not normal to be surrounded by, and this person increased their income by 100 grand, and this person increased their income by this. And we actually found out today, Bernardo and Laura Infante crossed 1.5 million a year in earnings. But incredibly proud of this young man, and his wife Kyla started this business when he was 18 years old, and now a $250,000 earner. Please help me welcome Curtis Lahovich.
Let's go. Let's go. How we doing, everybody? Great. Good. We got our timer going. We're ready to go. Big round of applause to everybody that came up so far. Absolutely. And what's fun to think about, I was thinking about everybody that came up, and so many, pretty much everybody that came up is a pile of our greatest friends. You know, we get to travel together, see each other all the time. And what a fun business just to know that, yeah, it's going to be challenging. Like Lena just talked about, it's going to be so much more worth it than you can know. And you're in business for yourself, you, your family, your goals. But man, just looking at the call, you're just not, oh, 1 sec, guys. 1 sec. Are we good? Are we unmuted in here? Hello? We're good? Okay, got it. And all good. But you are not by yourself, yes? We are not by ourselves. All right, let's dive in. Hey, Ben Hilborn, listen to this. That's the sound of no bugs going in my mouth. That is the great Canadian winter dream, baby. You are selling me the dream. I'm like, that's why I'm in Canada. That's awesome. All right, let's talk about some, my topic today is approach and contact. WFG is very much just like any other business, very much a contact sport. You know, the more people that you contact, not that you're going to hit them, but the more people that you contact with your words, the better you're going to do. That's for darn sure. So before I even jump in, what is a contact? Let's define that. I think there's not enough clarity out there on what a contact is for sure. A contact is not me calling you and asking you, how are you doing? How's it going, big dog? All right, man, kill it out there. Have a good one. Ben, I made a contact. You know, Greg, I made a contact today. It was awesome. What'd you talk about? Nothing. You know, that's not a contact. We got to be significantly more clear. A contact, I was chatting with Max about this today. We had a good conversation. A contact is an invitation. That is, I made a contact. A contact's not, I sent out 30 messages to strangers. We sent out 30 messages to strangers. That's its own category, but and that's fine. But an actual contact is when we make an invitation and they say yes or no. That is a legitimate contact. So when we say, I made 5 contacts, that is, I attempted to book 5 people and I either did or I didn't. Make sense? The other part of a contact is when you do an appointment. When you do an appointment, because if you do 10 appointments in a day and your contacts goal for the day is 10 contacts, you don't have time to make 10 contacts on top of your 10 appointments. Make sense? So a contact is either you did an appointment or you attempted to book one. Just want to be super clear, or you attempted to get a referral, or you attempted to prospect somebody. That's a contact. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is mindset before we go into some how to approach type stuff. So mindset, Lena said it, but don't be afraid to inconvenience people for their own good. Sometimes you might think, oh man, this person's so busy. They got so much on the go. They got all these kids. I got no kids. They got this business. Maybe I don't have one, or they got so much happening. Like, hey, and then we get into, you know, a little bit worry mode, and we're afraid to inconvenience them. We're like, oh, well, I don't want it to be too inconvenient. Hey, and then we start saying weird stuff, and we're like, when would work for you to get together? Tell me about it. And they say, call me in Q2. Q1's looking pretty busy. And you're like, oh my God, I'm booking this 4 months down the road. What are we doing? But you can't be afraid to inconvenience people for their own good. Hey, I'm telling, and I try to say things like this all the time. It's part of my next point, but hey, just letting you know, when we get together, you're going to be absolutely blown away with what you learn. I'm telling you, you're going to walk out of that meeting feeling like you learned a lot, and you're going to be so impressed. How much more value do people put on the meeting if you say something like that? So gold, so appreciate that. Gold, so much more, so much more. The next one is people. More people you contact, the better you do. Oh, I already said that. Next one, you're one person away from your next explosion. Your business isn't going to be one explosion. It's going to be a series of explosions. It's going to be fun. It's going to be messy. It's going to be exciting. But literally, you could be one person away from an explosion. And just keeping that in your mind as you're out there, that piece of mindset takes you out of the normal day-to-day, I just got to make some contacts to put in the work. It just gives you a little bit more inspiration behind what if this person is that person. Next one, remove yourself from the outcome. So many people in a lot of the coaching calls that I do, I noticed that so many people put they don't remove themselves from the outcome. They get hurt by it. Somebody says no, they take it so, and I was there too for such a long period of time, but we take it so a lot of times so personally when we shouldn't. Who cares if they say yes or no? It's kind of like, it's kind of like if a waiter's coming by. I love how Ed Milet used to talk about this, but if a waiter on one of his old CDs and audios, but it's kind of like a waiter coming by our table and offering us water. And if we put our hand over the glass and say, no, I'm not thirsty, should that waiter be upset about it? The answer is no. It's who cares? What they should do is come back and offer again later. They should follow up with us. And we're about to talk about how fortune's in the follow-up, but it doesn't matter to remove yourself from the outcome. Who cares if they say yes or no? It's about them, not you, not us. It's about them. Follow up with them until the timing's right. Some will, some won't, but enough will. And you can't say the right thing to the wrong person. You can never say the right thing to the wrong person. If they aren't the right person, you're trying to find out who's hungry out there and they decide that they're not. Who cares? Move on. And hey, if you want to get really good at approaching contact, or you want a better question, you want to win big. If you want to win big here in business, make sure, so quick plug, you get a ticket to Banff. Yes? All right,
Yes.
Next one, number 2. Let's talk about the actual approach. What you're trying to do in the approach is give people the trailer, not the movie. That's a really big part of it. You're trying to give them the trailer, not the movie. You're not trying to tell them everything that we do, but you're also not trying to be so vague that they're going to start to ask you a bunch of questions. You just call them up and say, hey, let's book some time to meet. They're going to say, why? Tell me more. Let's go. That's just way too vague. So we got to give them a little bit more. They also need this, for example, if you're in a bit of an invitation, I could call Charlton and say, hey, Charlton, I recently got started in business. I'm actually taking a bit of a deep dive into the financial industry. And here's why. And I could list a couple things I could not stand about the oil field and so sick of swamping and moving rigs and want to do something else. And I think I found my calling in the financial industry, so excited about it. I don't know how to explain everything, but man, we need to get together. I know you're going to be so impressed with what you learn. You're going to learn so much if you're as impressed. And then adding this on, it's so important. If you're as impressed as I think you'll be, you could either take the info and run with it. So use it for yourself, like something that's going to be in it for him, or maybe you could send some people my way. If you're as impressed as I think you'll be, you could take the info and run with it, or at the very least, you might be able to send some people my way. Deal? I say something like that in most of those calls that I make. Next one is make sure you sound excited. You don't want to call people sounding pretty miserable. Staying on time. You don't want to call people sounding miserable. And if you're literally feeling a little bit off because maybe something happened where you're literally just having an off moment or an off hour, that's probably not the perfect, or you just got some crap news, or something actually pissed you off a little bit. Sorry about my language. It's probably not the best time to go dive into a phone zone. You know what I mean? Hey, right there, you're just feeling pissed, but I'm disciplined, and you're just calling people sounding miserable, Go find something to change your state a little bit, read your goals, just do something. But the point is, you have to come across as enthusiastic. You might not be an extremely excited person, and you don't have to be, but you do have to be a bit enthusiastic when you call people. And all you're doing is you're just booking an appointment to show them what you do. That's it. That's all you're really doing. You just show them what you do. They could decide what they want. But I will tell you this, the weakest meetings to book, the weakest ones with the weakest outcomes, are where they're coming just to help you with your training. That makes sense? Like, hey, just come help me with my training. Most people will probably help you with your training, but that's all they're going to do. They're going to help you with your training. And almost that was the expectation. So in closing, fortune's in the follow-up. Most people don't follow up enough because they took that no so personally. But the average person you help will probably be after 8 times of connecting with them. So fortune's the follow-up. That's my time. Back to you, Greg.
Awesome. Way to go, Curtis. Way to go, man. I just want to pull up some numbers so that I could do the best intro for Jay. He is our final speaker this evening. And just an incredible, I mean, again, pretty much, I think all of our speakers had an unbelievable 2024. But listen to these numbers for Jay. 80% increase in personal points, 51% increase in base shot points,
43% increase in super base points, 26% increase in super team points, 46% increase in cash flow. Would anybody be excited to have those types of numbers happen in their business? And I have good news for you, is because I think almost every single one of you in this room anyways, maybe not every single person on Zoom, but your business is smaller than Jay's, which means that bigger numbers, bigger percentage increases are easier to achieve, right? Most of you should be growing your income by double or triple this year. If you made $15,000 last year, you should be able to make 50 or 60 or 70 this year. If you made 100 grand last year, you should be able to double it and make 200. But please help me welcome to the call, Mr. Jay White.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a fun year, and we plan to do it bigger this year than we did last year. So good. This has been a great call. Thanks to Gregg for having the vision to put it on. We could have been doing, very, very little on a Thursday night, or we could be sharpening the axe a little bit, right? So it's good that we were here. I think am I last?
You're last.
All right, let's close this out by talking about growing your business. Okay, there's a lot of tools that we have. One of the things that I like to talk about is the infrastructure that Gregg and Cam and Paxton have put in place for us over the years. It's incredible. This isn't a talk about the infrastructure, but while I'm on the topic for just a second, I want you to realize what you have. You have the ability to just recruit somebody, plug them into the Dynasty system, and that will bring them up in the business for you. Of course, you got a little bit to do along the way, but the infrastructure is incredible. What we need to do is plug people into the machine. So I want you to imagine how crazy this would be. I'm going to explain something to you for a second. Think about how crazy this would be. Imagine for a minute having the access to Gregg and Cam and Paxton at least one time per week to talk to your guests, to recruit them into WFG for you, and imagine for a second that you weren't using it. How crazy would that be? Did I get any of you right there? Mm-hmm. You're like, oh, damn, I haven't had a guest in that meeting ever. Every single week, we have access to the best of the best in Canada. I don't care. You couldn't sell me that anybody in WFG Canada was better than Gregg and Cam and Paxton. You can try all day. You won't win that argument with me. And they'll get on Zoom every single week and talk to guests for you and bring them into WFG literally for you. Does that feel like something we should be using more? Myself included, by the way. I'm talking to myself literally as we're speaking here right now. So let's talk a little bit more about utilizing the expansion webinar on Tuesday night. I think that's what I think we ought to be doing. A huge focus for our team this year is dramatically increasing our recruiting, and a part of it is Tuesday night expansion webinar. So I don't really want to do a high impact inviting class for you right now. I think that you're probably all could figure out a script to invite someone to the webinar. The key point is this. I want you know how to do it, right? Like Zoomland, if you've been around for a little while, you could probably invite someone to the webinar on Tuesday. Is it yes or yes? Chat, yes? Yeah, great, okay? But here's your teammates might not know how to do that. It's worth it to spend a few minutes with a teammate to just kind of teach them some words. Hey, by the way, what are you doing on Tuesday night that you couldn't get out of for about 45 minutes if you really tried? Nothing. Fantastic. Our company is expanding. We're having an expansion webinar. The best people in our company will be explaining how this works. I'd love for you to just log in with your video on and tell me what you think about it after. You could do that for 45 minutes, couldn't you? Now, how many times in a day could we have that conversation? What do you think? Let's just say enough that one would say yes. Is that fair?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Enough that one would say yes. Okay? So what if you did that once a day to the point where one said yes per day, and then you had 7 invites to every Tuesday? Would that be a positive thing in your business, yes or no? Yes. Of course it would, right? Of course it would, okay? So that's if I'm just trying to think of different scenarios as I'm spitballing here. That's kind of like my initial sort of invite. But what if we just sat down for a meeting? What if I just sat down with Curtis and Kyla and we're looking at getting into the business and they're like, this is pretty cool. I'm like, the next step is tomorrow night. We've got an expansion webinar. You know what I love to say? I'll give you just a little bit of language I say all the time. I'll say, Curtis and Kyla, this meeting we just went through, that's like seeing it and hearing it. Tomorrow night with Gregg will be like feeling it. That's what I tend to say, right? And a lot of people will show up. And I also love to finish that invite by saying, I'm very confident that after that meeting tomorrow night, you're going to know one way or another whether or not you want to do this with us. Okay, so it's a great tool. There's a little bit of language. There's way more language in high impact that you can use for that. Now, preparation. One of the most important things that you can do is prepare your guest to have their video on and to be seated somewhere where they can actually watch and pay attention. Through COVID, I kept detailed stats and numbers on guest count like you wouldn't believe. Was looking at them the other day. With video on, we recruited 1 out of 4. With video off, it was almost 1 out of 7. So you almost double your odds if you have that. I don't know. I don't find it to be an uncomfortable conversation to prep someone to do things properly. Yeah. I think some people, maybe they do. Just try it once. You realize it's not that awkward. Say, look, when you log in, here's what I need you to do. I need you to have your video on. You know, if you're embarrassed about your house being messy, here's how you blur your background. You know, whatever you need to do to make sure that their video's on, it's going to be exponentially more powerful. You know what you're doing on a Zoom call when you don't have your video on. And it's not paying attention. Okay, same thing's happening with your guests. It's good. You got to prepare them. Okay, got to prepare them. Now, as I start to wrap here, how many of you guys ever heard this set of numbers? 3 equals 1. Yep. Zoomland, you guys know what 3 equals 1 is? Okay, cool. Is that good? Or is that just what people always talked about?
Quite a few might know.
So just in case you don't know, that meant that if you invited 3 people to the webinar, that 1 would show up. If you invited 3 people to a BPM, 1 would show up. And it was just this accepted stat forever. What's the opposite of 3 equals 1?
3.
Yeah, I suppose what I'm actually trying to get at is this. Everybody was cool with 2/3 of their invites not showing up. Does that seem like a really good business strategy or like just an okay one? Like, do you think we could do better than 3 equals 1 if we tried? Do you know what 3 equals 1 is? It's hope as a strategy. Okay? Oh, I invited 3. I'm going to have 1 there. If I do nothing. Okay? But what if we did something? Right? When's the last time you like booked a massage or you had a chiro appointment or you had a doctor's appointment? Recent? How often did they text you? Like all the time, at least once a day leading up to it. And so why would it be, if it's professional for them, why would it be not professional for you? Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And so if there were a follow-up strategy, I remember doing this in 2019 back, pre-Zoom. I remember drawing a tombstone over 3 equals 1. I think it was like 1980 to 2019, 3 equals, we retired it. It died, right? We're now 3, I think, should equal 2. 3 is never going to equal 3 because you invite humans, right? When you start inviting robots, then I suppose maybe 3 could equal 3, but not right now. And so we need to have a follow-up strategy. Here's my follow-up strategy. It produces 3 equals 2. Okay? Step number 1, I call Justin. I invite him to the meeting. And he says, yes, I'll be there. And then we hang up the phone, and step number 1's about to happen. I'm going to send him my first confirmation text. Justin, I'm fired up that you're coming to the meeting. It's going to be fantastic. And now here's the line that you got to say at the end. I can't wait to hear what you think about it after. Immediate, okay? The immediate follow-up. Step number 2 is what we're going to call the morning of reminder. Right? So you get to the office that morning, I fire Justin a message. It's almost the exact same message. Hey, Justin, excited to have you on the meeting tonight. It starts at 7 o'clock sharp. I recommend that you're there a couple minutes early just in case you have any tech issues. What's the last thing I'll say? I can't wait to hear what you'll think about it after. Chris got it. Okay. Now, pitfall some people walk into on the morning of text. Here's what it sounds like. I know it's a text, but here's what the person on the other end reads and hears. You ready? Are you still coming tonight? Should our message sound like that? This is an assumptive deal, okay? If you offer someone an out, do they take it usually? Of course they do. I'm not offering an out. Justin, the meeting's tonight at 7. Log in 10 minutes early. Can't wait to hear what you think about it after. Okay, and now step number 3, 15 minutes before message. That's the last touch point. 15 minutes before. Hey, Justin, here's the link again, just in case you didn't have it. I'm logging in right now. I'll see you in there. Can't wait to hear what you think about it after. And now, is somebody not going to show? Yeah, there's still going to be somebody, but I think that you're going to go from 3 = 1 to 3 = 2 if you do those 3 steps. Okay. Let's finish with this. Last time I checked how many lines were on here, there's 340 lines, really good. I have to assume that some of those lines have multiple people. I can even see one of them right now. So let's say that there's 360 on Zoom and about 20 here. Let's call that 380. Could we all do 1 for Tuesday?
Yep. Yeah.
Could we all do 1? Somebody's going to do more than 1, which will make up for those of you that don't do any. Right? But what if we had 380 in front of Greg on Tuesday? Wouldn't that be a great start to the year, G?
Yep.
All right. That's it for me. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Greg, for putting it on.
A great message, Jay. Lots of awesome tips there. And I hope more than anything, I mean, I loved some of the specific words he used, but more than anything, just a bit of a reminder that those presentations happen every single week and that you can just make it part of what you do every day, that you're telling people about it, inviting them out. If you have a meeting with somebody that's even a tiny bit interested in the business, what a great next step to get them in front of Cam and myself or Paxton on a Thursday night to help you get them even, to take their interest to the next level. But thank you to all of our speakers tonight. You guys did an unbelievable job. It was clear that you were all super, super well prepared. This meeting went just as good or maybe even better than I could have hoped. We just wanted to, we couldn't really do our training last night on Wednesday night on January the 1st, but we wanted to get everybody back in the groove and back in the mode to build their business and get their 2025 off to a great start. So thank you for everybody that's here in the office and in Zoom land. We love you guys, coast to coast. Have an awesome night, everybody. We'll see you soon.